Well, we have certainly been talking a lot about Metroid Prime 4, and we're going to keep doing so. But today instead, we're actually going to be talking about the Switch 2, because I don't want all of the information and news and hype and some people's disappointment around the re-reveal of the Switch 2 to get lost in all of my hype and excitement for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Even though that's just the greatest thing, and if you've been following the channel and the videos the past week or so, it's just been a lot of fun, man. I'm finally covering Metroid Prime 4 as a real game, which is something I waited 7 years to be able to do on this flipping YouTube channel. And so yes, now that I can do it, I'm prepared to just unleash Metroid Prime 4 discussion upon the world. But, like I said, that's not the point of this video. The Switch 2 is the real piece of news that everyone is focused on. There is so much to discuss. A lot of great information, some disappointing details, some delays of pre-orders, game prices are insane, but there's a lot of positives too. And so, yeah, I kind of just wanted to take a day and just kind of refocus off of Metroid Prime 4 and back onto the actual Switch 2 itself, and kind of talk out a little bit more of my feelings about the console with you guys. So look, I'm just gonna get straight to the point, man. At the end of the day, game prices and delayed pre-orders and weird box art controversies aside, when I look at just the Switch 2 as a console, the power that it's promising, the games library that they're already showing us, I love it. I'm super excited, man. And I'm somebody who didn't ever need or want Nintendo to keep making hybrid devices. Like, I love the Switch. The hybrid concept is certainly very cool. But if I could have chosen, I would have said, you know what, just go back to making a regular console. I never play my Switch portable anyway, so who cares? That being said, what we've seen of the Switch 2, I'm in love with it. I think it looks great. I cannot freaking wait to finally own one. Some things that they spent time detailing, like the game chat feature, or like the improved kickstand, some of those kinds of things, they don't really do much for me. The kickstand, especially because, as I just mentioned, I'm just not a portable player. Like my wife is, she plays her current Switch almost exclusively portably. I play mine almost exclusively on the TV, like 99.9% of the time, unless I'm flying somewhere and traveling, which, to be fair, I will be doing in a few months. My Switch is always docked, and I'm always playing it on my TV. So something like an improved kickstand, and even like the speakers, the improved speakers, the two USB ports, one on the top, one on the bottom. It's like, they're cool for portable players, and I understand the advantages. They don't get me excited. Then there's something that kind of blurs the line, like the magnetic Joy-Cons. Like, I'm really curious to try those, what it's like to both attach them with these really strong magnets, and then to detach them with those big eject buttons on the back. That's more of a curiosity than it is a practical benefit to me, just because I want to see how strong it really feels to get those things stuck on with a magnet and then not be able to pull them off unless you press that button. And also, to be fair, I certainly am curious to see what the screen looks like. I guess I need to keep my mind open here, to be totally transparent with you guys. I need to keep my mind open to see what happens once I actually have a Switch 2 in my hand, and maybe with the taller Joy-Cons that are a little bit bigger for, you know, an adult's hand, and also that bigger screen with HDR, 1080, you know, brighter and just sharper looking, maybe that alone, the bigger, better screen and bigger Joy-Cons, will make it something a little bit more attractive for me to want to play portably, whether I'm just sitting on my couch or whether I'm laying in bed before going to sleep or something. I mean, maybe the Switch 2 changes my habits in this respect. So right now, in the era of the Switch, it's been 99% on the TV for me. Maybe that ratio changes a little bit with how amazing and awesome the Switch 2 itself looks. And then there's the power piece to this, man. And look, any of you who are already familiar with me and my knowledge or lack thereof, you know I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a PC parts guy. I don't know about GPU this and CPU that and DirectX 9 F3 NVIDIA upscaling blah 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 blah. I'm just not smart enough. I've never pretended to be that smart. I don't know what any of that crap means. I understand the simple stuff, like the Switch 2 is as powerful as a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 4 Pro or an Xbox Series S, those kinds of things. And if you start talking to me about your resolution can be 1080, it can be 4K, you can get 30 frames per second, 60, 120. Those things, those simple concepts work for my super dumb brain. So when we learned from Nintendo with the reveal of the Switch 2 in this Direct this past week, that when it's docked, again, how I play 99% of the time currently, when it's docked, it can output up to 4K and 120 frames per second. That blows my mind. And I've been seeing a lot of people sharing their knowledge of the specs that we know and comparing screenshots of multi-platform games on other platforms compared to the Switch 2 version. You know, third-party games like Street Fighter 6 is one that a lot of people have showed. I think there's another one too that I might be forgetting, but I've seen a lot of Street Fighter 6 as a great example. And so when I see other people smarter than me talk about this and share their knowledge, I see a lot of those people, and again, I'm not smart enough to confirm if this is true or not. I'm just sharing with you what I see other smart people saying, that it's kind of matching or maybe even beating in some areas what the Xbox Series S is doing. That's crazy. So when people talk about the Switch 2 is maybe as powerful as a PS4 Pro or more powerful than a Pro or whatever, if it can match or even in some cases beat what the Series S does, obviously it's not matching the Series X or the PlayStation 5. Okay, that's fine. No one really expected it to. But if you're in that PS4 Pro, Xbox Series S territory, holy crap. That is incredible to me. Again, knowing it is ultimately just a handhold. It is ultimately a handheld device that also plugs into a dock that then bumps it up to 4K and up to 120 frames per second for probably a few games here and there. That is incredibly impressive tech. That is Nintendo pushing for the kind of power parity we haven't seen them try to do since the GameCube era. So I am in love with all of that stuff. It also apparently is even more powerful and capable than a Steam Deck, right? And so that's great because a lot of people see the Steam Deck as more of the direct competitor in a lot of ways, at least obviously in the handheld space, because there will be a lot of the same games across them. Cyberpunk, I knew there was another game. Cyberpunk 2077, that's another third-party game. People have been comparing the screenshots and the resolutions and whatnot for. And I guess the Steam Deck in a way can kind of transition us into the pricing discussion around the Switch 2, because as of now, again, everything's up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen in the coming weeks and months, man. I don't want to get into that part of it, and you know what I'm talking about. But right now, okay, Nintendo is telling us the Switch 2 is in the US. Again, I live in the United States, so that's what I'm talking about. In United States dollars, $450, $449. And a Steam Deck, I believe, at least maybe the base Steam Deck is $399, $400. I think there might be a better one with an OLED screen that might sell for $450 or $500 itself. Either way, we're looking at, $400 to $500 for a Steam Deck, and we're looking at $450 for a Switch 2. Switch 2 seems to be overall much better optimized and is running and outputting some of these games that people have showed quite a bit better and more impressively than what the Steam Deck can do. And the Switch 2 plays physical games, which for people like me is a huge win. Steam Deck, you can only download games through like Steam, right? Or whatever other game launcher you might download onto your Steam Deck, because it's just a PC. Whereas the Switch 2, it can play Switch 1 cartridges, Switch 2 cartridges. It's a physical, real video game device. That is everything to me. Plus, it has the magical advantage of playing Nintendo games. Nintendo is the smartest company in the industry when it comes to this stuff, because they know it is better for their brand and their success to keep everything that they own, everything that is first party, exclusive to them and them alone. And that includes PC. No PC ports for anything. Sony and Microsoft are throwing their stuff all over the place. Anyone can have their games, whether it's PC, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Switch, whatever. They don't really care about that stuff, and that's fine if it works for them. I'm not necessarily complaining, but I think that it shows that that's the kind of thing you do when you maybe have to do it, whereas Nintendo doesn't, because everyone goes to Nintendo and to Nintendo's devices to play their incredible games. Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, yada yada, just, Xenoblade, keep the list going. People go to Nintendo for that stuff. And so again, that's when I look at the price of $449. when I paid $500 for my PlayStation 5 and $500 for my Xbox Series X, I am more than okay with that price. Now, would I have preferred the $399, $400 price a lot of us had kind of been targeting for the Switch 2 before the Direct? Of course. Look, I'm not dying to just throw my money away on things. I'm just talking about the value of the Switch 2 versus the value of the other stuff on the market that I've already paid more money for. And it's like, yeah, it is worth the $450 based on the power they've shown us and also the games, which has to be a huge part of this. It's worth $450 to me. It just is. You know, I paid $300 for my day one Switch that I still play on, which is dying on me, sadly. So $450 for the Switch 2, I'm totally cool with it. The game prices thing, that's such a big conversation, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's just messy and silly, but it just has to be said. At this point, this conversation is getting out there. This $90 US price for physical Switch 2 games was just a big fat lie. It's been misinformation like crazy. No, there are no $90 physical Switch games. Thank God, because that did piss me off. It's like, look, I probably would buy Mario Kart for $90. I definitely was considering it at that point as opposed to the digital version. But there are no $90 games. Now, Mario Kart is $80. And that sucks. It's stupid. Nintendo, you should not be charging that. Like, the standard price across the industry for modern consoles is $70. You can charge $69.99 for Mario Kart and for Donkey Kong and for the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4. Just do that. I don't know why you're doing $80 for Mario Kart. I think it's dumb. But at the end of the day, $80 isn't $90. And we know that in, other territories, these games and the Switch 2 are also very, very expensive. So the pricing thing is a mess, and Nintendo needs to figure it out, control their messaging, communicate their messaging even better. I mean, this stuff is on their website, so it is out there, and they did direct people to the website to get this information, and obviously a lot of people didn't do that. But I feel like they could be a little bit more transparent than just go to our website and read through all the stuff. So they need to do that, and I also think maybe they need to reconsider what happens if they roll back the $80 price on just one game. It would actually go a long way for a lot of people. A lot of goodwill would be won back if they did that. Sure, there would be this egg on their face sort of feeling from Nintendo probably to have to roll back the price of Mario Kart, and it would make them look kind of foolish, I guess, initially, or maybe that's what they're concerned about. But I actually think that people would forget that pretty quickly and just be like, oh, thank God, Nintendo is selling their games for the Switch 2 at the same price PS5 and Series X games sell for. $70 for like the main big titles. I feel like everyone would get over that $10 difference, and then it would really put the kibosh on this $90 lie, misinformation that has been going around since the Direct, that people keep saying, $90 games, Nintendo is greedy. And they are sometimes greedy, I'm not denying that. And then the other people trying to say, no, that was a lie, it's misinformation. And then both sides are yelling at each other and no one's looking at the truth. There are no $90 games, that's just a fact. To get back to some of the exciting stuff though, man, I want to talk about the games. Because we know about 4 massive titles coming to the Switch 2 that have me jumping for flipping joy. Actually, it's like 5 or 6. I keep thinking about these games. It's like, actually, there is more than that. Mario Kart World, amazing. Donkey Kong Bonanza, oh my freaking God, amazing. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, what do I even need to say about that? Look at my YouTube channel for the past 7 years. It is everything. Look at my last 41-minute video I just made about Metroid Prime 4. So there's that, which is coming to Switch and to Switch 2. Hyrule Warriors is a game I almost forgot about. Very excited for that. The Dusk Bloods looks incredible. I love a Switch 2 exclusive From Software game that is very, very much tapping into the Bloodborne vibes. And I know that I need to look into the details. There has been discussion on whether or not that's like only a PvP game, like a competitive online game. I hope that's not the case. But either way, I'm still excited regardless. I have to look into it. I have to get it. I'm very excited. And there's probably other couple of games. There was a new Daemon X Machina game announced, It's incredible, man. And And I'm excited for all of these games that are coming to Switch 2 exclusively, with the exception of Metroid Prime 4, that does have the Switch 2 edition, which is coming to us in the form of basically a patch that we download. But like, that's fine. I don't care. Whatever gives me that 4K version of Metroid Prime 4, that's the one I want. The treehouse footage of these big games, you know, the ones that I paid attention to and followed, which were Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and Metroid. Those are like the three big games, right? All 2025 titles, by the way. I'll get to that in a moment. Following the treehouse footage for these games, amazing. Mario Kart World, and if you watched my reaction, you saw that. You saw this. Impressed me so much more than I could have imagined going into a new Mario Kart game. Even at the start of a brand new generation, like, you know, the little teases we saw on the Switch 2 reveal trailer back in January were like not all that exciting. I was like, okay, new Mario Kart. Graphically looks slightly better than Mario Kart 8 based off of just that quick little footage. And even the first like 40 seconds of the trailer we saw in the Direct last week also looked about the same. I was like, okay, yeah, it just looks like Mario Kart 8, maybe a little bit better. But then, again, that trailer kept going. Not only did the graphics start to look a lot more impressive once you actually realize what's going on, the gameplay shakeup is huge. I cannot flipping wait to drive across that map, to get online with some of my buddies and just race across all these different areas. I love driving from course to course. I'm loving the rail grinding. I'm loving the wall jumping. It is so cool. And I didn't think I would even care about 24 racers. But again, watching this treehouse footage, it started to make me kind of appreciate how much of a change to the gameplay 24 racers might actually be, especially when you're playing online. Donkey Kong Country Bonanza is the most Rob game a game could be, because it is a Nintendo game. It's a platformer. It's a 3D platformer that also showed some glimpses of like 2D sections. I hope that that's a big part of the game. If they do a really nice blend between, you know, the big 3D open world stuff, which I'm sure is most of the game, but then a pretty sizable smattering of 2D stuff. Oh my goodness. I love everything happening. I love the punching and the grabbing rocks and the digging into the ground and just everything going on there. It's, like I said in my reaction, it's like Mario Odyssey on crack. I'm so excited for that game, and it is not that far away. So yeah, we have to look at like the launch year for the Switch 2, because a lot of us have been talking about how amazing the launch year was for the Switch 1, and we wanted Nintendo to replicate that for the Switch 2, because it clearly set the Switch up for the massive success that it saw. And like already in 2025, you know, the Switch 2 comes out in June, like almost halfway through the year. But then throughout the rest of the year, we already know Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Those three massive, beautiful Switch and Switch 2 games, all released in 2025 on the Switch 2. Not to, and you know, there's the upgrades for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and for Kirby and for Mario Party. So those are all very cool as well. Oh, and there's the new Pokemon game. So they've got a lot. Look, they're 2025. Now that they've been able to show us their next generation console, show us these games, confirm cross-gen for Metroid Prime 4, and show us what the Switch 2 version looks like, even though it's a downloadable patch to get it. Who cares? We all thought that anyway. Their 2025 is amazing. Their launch year and launch lineup for the console is amazing. Lest we even forget that Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza are only a month apart, you guys. Like, I feel like that's also something I've seen lost in the conversation. Is that on June 5th, we get Mario Kart, but then on July, it's 17th, because it's the day after my birthday, which is the 16th, a month and a half later is Donkey Kong. Again, similar to the Switch 1, where the Switch 1 launched with Breath of the Wild, and only like a month and a half later, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out. And so yes, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was basically just a port of a Wii U game, but it was exciting at the time. It was huge, and it went on to sell like 60 million goddamn copies. Like, it's insane, you know? So clearly they did something right, and they even eventually added new content exclusive to the Switch version of Mario Kart 8. It's incredible, man. And so they are emulating that release cadence for the launch of the Switch 2. I'm so excited about that. I'll also add that it helps me to know that the launch game for the Switch 2 is a multiplayer game in Mario Kart World, which is both really exciting and also a little disappointing, because I am more of a single-player guy. That's why I was hoping Metroid would be another launch title, so I'd have my single-player game and my multiplayer game. So just Mario Kart from Nintendo initially is like, I mean, the game blew my mind, so I'm excited, but I wanted something single-player focused. But realizing that Donkey Kong is only like 4 or 5 weeks later, it's like, okay, I think Mario Kart is going to keep me plenty busy for a month before I get to play Donkey Kong. On top of the fact that there's a lot of third-party games, so much third-party support for the Switch 2, which made sense because third parties screwed up and missed out on the Switch 1, and they had to play catch-up. And so now they're making sure to be there from the jump, and I think that that's very smart as well. Also, one more thing I want to say. I am kind of ending on something a little bit negative, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just something more to make fun of than anything. I don't remember the name of it. Whatever that, like, it's like a digital manual game for the Switch 2 and for the Joy-Cons. What is that thing called? You're looking at the footage of it here. This thing, what the hell, Nintendo? It's fine that you made this, but they say it's paid. I don't think I've seen a confirmed price for it yet. So a lot of people are hoping that this thing is like less than $10. This thing to me needs to be like $1.99. It's crazy that they're charging for this. So they called it like this paid demo content or whatever they phrased it as in the direct. This is, as everybody has already made this comparison, very similar to Astrobot's Playroom for the PlayStation 5, which was a great already downloaded to your console thing. Like, you set up your PlayStation 5 and you already have it. And I played through it and I loved it. And that at least was only a game, whereas this thing is both like a manual with a lot of reading on how to use your Switch 2, with some mini games popped in there as well that I think is using the Joy-Con 2s to do stuff. So that's where it's very similar to Astrobot's Playroom, which showcased a lot of the DualSense features. But why in the hell? What version of Nintendo are we dealing with here where they are charging even a cent for this thing? It's absolutely insane that they didn't say that this is downloaded and pre-installed and free with every Switch 2. I don't know what they're thinking. So if I've missed the price has already been announced, then I apologize. But I think that this thing needs to literally be like 99 cents or $1.99 if they're going to charge for it. I would probably buy this thing at 99 cents just to try it because it's only $1. But if this thing is like more than $10, absolutely absurd. And there's something really weird going on with Nintendo with these high price for games at $80 and, you know, $4.50 again. I think it's justified, but I don't think Iwata would have charged $4.50. I think he would have charged $400. And I know inflation and all this other stuff or whatever, but I still think that that's true. I just find this whole thing to be really just silly and kind of dumb. But all that aside, man, I'm stoked for the Switch 2. It looks like a great console. It looks like a great successor, next generation follow-up to the current Switch. I'm loving the games. I'm loving Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Switch 2 Edition, Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, and Dusk Bloods, and Hyrule Warriors, and all of this stuff. It's a really good, fun, exciting time. Kirby Air Riders, I've talked about it. I didn't love the first game, so I'm not like inherently excited for that game, but I'm excited to see gameplay once it's ready to show. So again, I'm keeping my mind open for something like that. But I see a console that's significantly more powerful than the last one. It's got a lot of practical improvements, a lot of power improvements. It's got the fan on the dock, which is great for me, again, as a docked player, a TV player. It's got the games, and it's coming out really soon, unless something screws that up. And I know we're kind of in this like limbo period because of all this real world stuff that's going on. And I hate it, hate it, hate it. I'm sure a lot of you guys do too as well. We just kind of have to wait and see, but when looking at all of this stuff through the video game and Nintendo lens to just see, hey, here's new products that we're excited for, it's a great time in that sense. I love what I've seen from the Switch 2. I can't wait to play Metroid Prime 4 on my Switch 2. And so as of now, I'm jazzed, man. I'll be there day one, provided I can get a damned pre-order once those things go up. So obviously we're all nervous about that. Here in the States. In other countries, I know pre-orders have already started. In the States, things are in limbo, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm stoked. Share your thoughts of the Switch 2 and what you guys have seen so far and how you feel about it. And thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.